Hello, everyone, and welcome to Business Fundamental Fridays. We're here with Kelly Frazier, Garrett Pearson, and Scott Brandon.
Hi, everyone.
And today we're going to be talking about how to get the right people on the bus. And we're really excited about this. I'm really excited to hear from Scott. Scott's going to be teaching this concept today. So we're going to turn the time over to Scott.
Thanks, Garrett. Getting the right people on the bus, this is a great topic. As you know, every 2 weeks we get together and share some important information with you, things that have helped us in our business and in our lives, and this is one of the big ones that's really made a big difference in our business. How about you, Kelly? Has this helped you at all?
Yes, absolutely. I'm looking forward to this topic too, because I think, really we can have some great discussion around this, and I'm sure we all have stories about having the wrong people, so yeah, I love it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I guess the first thing I want to start out is, some people might not know the bus analogy. So what is the bus and why do I want to get people on it? So this all started from a book called Good to Great. It came out a few years ago, but it really changed the way we do business and how we think about the people that we hire for our business. And this was written by a guy named Jim Collins, and what he did is he got a group of people together. They put in about 15,000 hours worth of research, and they went over 1,500 different companies to try to find out what makes good companies great, and they actually narrowed it down to 11. And then they examined those 11 companies, and they put this book together based on the findings that they found from those 11 great companies. So, I think a lot of people's bus probably looks more like this bus than a real one. And I just thought this was a funny picture. There's like 12 little kids in that little bus thing on the back of that bike. So,
that's amazing.
Yeah. So one of the things that I really wanted to focus on in the book, and it's probably the most popular thing that people talk about, is the chapter called First Who, Then What. And I'm just going to read the first two paragraphs from this chapter, because I think it's really powerful and it sums things up quite well. So Jim says, when we began this research project, we expected to find that the first step in taking a company from good to great would be to set a new direction, a new vision and strategy for the company, and then get people committed and aligned behind that new direction. But we found something quite the opposite. The executives who ignited the transformations from good to great did not first figure out where to drive the bus and then get people to take it there. No, they first got the right people on the bus and the wrong people off the bus, and then figured out where to drive it. So I think that's really important. So that's what he's saying is, I think most of us think this way. We think, here's the vision, here's where we want to go. Who do we want to get behind us to get us there? And he's saying that these 11 companies actually did it the opposite way. So they found out they wanted to get the right people on the bus first, get the wrong people off, which is important, and then decide where to go. Any comments on that, guys?
Well, I mean, the analogy here is the bus is your business. So whether you're starting out or you already have a business, you need to treat your business like a business. And so the analogy of the bus is the business, and you're going to drive it where you want to, but the people on the bus are going to help you get to where you want to go faster, quicker, and easier. So, yeah, I mean, this book, Good to Great, is one of my favorites of all time as well, and we would definitely suggest that you guys get it and read it if you haven't already read the book. Kelly, any thoughts?
Yeah, numerous companies have often hired the wrong people, and it's interesting because I don't really necessarily have the thought of right or wrong in my mind. I think it's more that there's healthy choices and unhealthy choices, and sometimes we choose the unhealthy relationships based on where we might have come from, or not really spending enough time to really survey the people that we want and being very clear about our own purpose and direction. So I think sometimes when we get the wrong people on the bus, it's a little challenging for us to figure out how to get them off the bus. So I'm really curious to see where Scott is going to take this information.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest challenges. But if you get the right people on the bus, the thing that I want to point out here is your bus can go anywhere and be successful, and that's kind of what he said. Because usually where we want to go isn't where we end up. And so if you have people on your bus, if you sell your staff or your team on a certain vision and goal, and you don't end up going there, a lot of times there can be a lot of contention and infighting because they're not flexible, they're not willing to adapt. And if you have the right people, they're willing to do that, and that makes all the difference.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that Jim talks about is that great leaders understand 3 simple truths. And the first one is kind of what we've talked about already. Getting the right people on the bus is the key to a great company. Because when you have the right people, you can go anywhere and do anything.
Yeah, I think this also, I'm going to interrupt you, Scott. It's not just employees. This also applies to customers and clients. Okay, so don't just think of this as getting the right employees on the bus or the right independent contractors or whoever you use. It's also getting the right clients and customers, because if you get the wrong clients and customers, if you're attracting the wrong clients and customers, that's going to be hard to make your business grow. So I just wanted to throw that thought in there.
Yeah, thanks. The second thing is the right people are self-motivated and are internally driven to do great things. And we've seen that a lot in our business. When you've got the right people on the bus, you can just have them do whatever needs to be done, and they're willing to just do it. We've seen situations where it's not the right person, and you're constantly fighting them to get things done. Right, Garrett?
Yeah.
Have you seen anything like that, Kelly?
Oh, completely. I mean, not just in my own business, but in many, many people, the businesses that I coach, it's the same thing. So I totally get it.
Yeah. And then 3, a great vision with the wrong people on the bus equals a very bumpy ride. So what that's saying is, usually the leader or the business owner has a vision, and they want to, make their business great. But if it's the wrong people on the bus, it's hard to get where you want to go. There's just constant bumps, I guess you could call them, with the bus analogy. Just makes it really difficult to be a great company when you don't have the right people working for you. So a couple other important key points in the book, and this is kind of what you were alluding to earlier, Kelly. People aren't your most important asset. The right people are. And one of the things he says in the book too is, if you can't find the right person, then don't hire anybody, because the right person is that important. Don't just settle for someone because you need someone to fill a position. Wait and find the right person.
Mm-hmm.
And then he also says whether someone is the right person has more to do with character traits and innate capabilities than with specific knowledge, background, or skills. And I think a lot of times you can teach people the skills they need. Both of our programmers, when they started working for us, they actually didn't start working for us as programmers, but they had the right character traits to become programmers, and they actually learned those skills on the way, and now they're great programmers. So I think character has a lot to do with having the right people, because they're willing to, like we said, willing to adapt and be flexible.
Mm-hmm.
So here's some thoughts that I had. These aren't necessarily in the book, but I think they go along with the concepts in the book. So how to be on the right bus at the right time is what I called it. First of all, be willing to make the tough decisions, and we talked a little bit about this, getting the wrong people off the bus. I think that's what this really comes down to. And this is actually something that we have, you know, we're trying to, something we can improve on, I guess we could say, because it is hard to let people go that you know aren't necessarily the right fit. And, you know, sometimes it's hard to let those people go because you know that they depend on you for their livelihood, and you know you care about them. So I don't know. Any thoughts, guys, on that one?
Well, I think it is hard, but more than likely, if you feel that way about them, the wrong person on the bus that you are wanting to get off, they are probably feeling the same way in some other aspects, subconsciously maybe. So you're really doing yourself a disservice and them a disservice by not letting them go and find something that they can do a better job at. So I think as hard as it is to make that tough decision of getting the wrong people off the bus, you're actually making it better for both parties if you do, is my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually really glad that we're talking about this today because, you know, there's so many ways of ideas that we can throw out here about how to get the right people on your team, and I'm looking forward to being able to share some of those thoughts. One thing that popped into my head was really and truly it comes down to if you've got a person in a job that really they're not meant for or made for, and if you have another position within your company that they would do better on, and you really like and value this person's character traits, it's really within your best interest to actually move them to that position and see if the person who is in that position might want to move to something different. I don't know, it just depends on the size of your company, obviously, but I think it's really a good idea to sometimes think within your own organization, how can you really make this work for everybody when you really value that person's character? Because they're few and far between sometimes, you know, so it's a really good thought.
Yeah, that's really good. He mentions that in the book too, and you know that's probably the first thing you should do if somebody's not working out in a position. I think you try to find a different position for them to fill that they can be successful in, and if you can't, then I think you know you have to let them go.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing I have there is to set goals and actively work towards them, but don't be afraid to change them because, like we said earlier, you know, the bus changes directions. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, I think. Because things change. You know, our environment around us changes constantly, and so you've got to be willing to change with whatever comes your way. And it's good to set goals. We've had goal workshops on these calls previously. And so goals are really important, and they actually help you to be a lot more successful and efficient. But don't be afraid to change a goal just because you wrote a goal down. You've got to be able to change it because the bus is going to change direction. The third one here, get out and meet successful people that already have the right people on their bus. You know, and I think this has been huge for our business. Going to conferences and seminars has really helped us, and having mentors has helped us to take our business to the next level. Don't you think, Garrett?
Yeah, for sure. And you know, we've built some awesome relationships with people and got them on our bus, or maybe it's the opposite. They got us on their bus. We partnered with, for example, Stu McLaren. You know, we're partners on a new product that we're coming out with in November called Rhino Support, a support ticket and live chat system. And, you know, he's 100% the right person to have on the bus. And we were willing to give up, you know, a huge percentage of the business to him because he is the right person on the bus. We've partnered with other people like Russell Brunson and for example, you know, we've done things with Kelly. You know, she's the right person to have on the bus, and hopefully she feels the same way about us. But, you know, it's just getting out there and meeting those people and seeing how they're running their businesses, and maybe even poaching some of their really good people to your business if you can. You know, I'm not saying that's the right
no, you did not just go there.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do sometimes. But no, I mean, and we saw that. I bring that up because the funny thing is when it's the right person, people notice. And a good example of that is we went to Kenya. As most of you know, we went to Kenya a couple months ago, and Stu McLaren, who ran it, his programmer, one of his main programmers and partners, came out to Kenya with us all. And the funny thing is everybody there knew that he was the right person on the bus. He was a great programmer and a great guy. And the funny thing is a lot of the guys there, had their own businesses, and they were trying to poach Mike from Stu. All of it was in joking, but a lot of it wasn't too, And so, just get out there and find the right people. And if you're doing the right things and have your bus going in the right direction, a lot of them will jump on with you because you're attracted to each other. So,
yeah. Any thoughts, Kelly?
Allie, I have so many stories racing through my head right now about all this, but of course, you're speaking the truth there. And like you said, although it isn't joking, we all have that deep desire to have the right team around us to, carry the weight of the organizations that we're putting together. And so it's extremely valid, to be able to have at least a conversation with that person one-on-one, because honestly, you never know whether or not that person's truly happy in where they're at. Just when you think they might be, and you happen to kind of joke about it, maybe it puts an idea in their head. Well, maybe I would, go over and switch over organizations. Obviously, it's not something you want to do to your friend's organization, but, it definitely has its, sometimes it's worth its weight in gold just to have a conversation with somebody about it without pressuring them in any way.
Yeah. The last thing I have here is if you're prepared to succeed, success will find you. And we've seen that happen where we've been ready for success, and somehow opportunities come once you're moving and you're active and you're ready for it. There's that phrase, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Mm-hmm. I think that same kind of principle is here. We've seen it several times where we've been ready for success, and success happens. And it happens in ways you don't expect, like our shopper approved product. We had built it, it was running, it was doing great, and all of a sudden one of our biggest competitors went out of business. And we were able to capitalize on that and grow our business by about $30,000 a year, just because we were ready. Mm-hmm. And and like Jared was saying about Stu, with Rhino Support, partnering with that, we were ready to take that next step. And Stu came out of the woodwork and became our partner. He was the right person to have on the bus. So if you're prepared to succeed, success will find you. But you've got to put yourself out there and be moving forward.
Yeah. Hey, Scott, I'm wondering if we could talk about that for just a minute, because there's probably people on the line who go, okay, well, how will I know if I'm ready? How will I know how prepared I actually have to be before I can step out there and feel like success is coming? What would you say to that?
I would say, honestly, you'll never know. You'll just feel it. You'll just feel that you're going in the right direction, and then the opportunity will come into play. And then you just have really the person that needs to be ready is you to be ready to take on the opportunity and accept it.
I would completely agree.
Yeah, I don't know, Kelly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it certainly does. And I think one of the biggest factors in anything that we teach here, whether we do a webinar or a teleseminar, no matter what we do, we have to be ready to take ownership. And that's one thing that I think probably 80% of the entrepreneurs out there still vacillate between what they really want to take ownership of and take full responsibility for, or what they are maybe sitting behind their computer not really wanting to step away from that. And so the ownership and the responsibility of it tends to just kind of drag on and on and on. And so that preparing part, never really seems to come to fruition for them. And that's where most entrepreneurs fail. But if you can truly take ownership of what it is that you are trying to accomplish in your life without veering off too many different directions. Now, I'm a big one for veering off sometimes, and I would be the first to admit that. But I'm also very, very powerful in what I own, and that is to be able to create communities for entrepreneurs. So just be ready to really take ownership of whatever it is that you're trying to teach, what you're trying to sell, what you're trying to accomplish, because once you do that, that's when you are going to feel prepared.
Yeah. And you know, I like what you said and what Garrett said combined, because I know for me personally, when we first started a couple of our companies, I didn't feel ready to go out there and promote it, and you know, I wasn't behind it 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't ready to succeed, to take that ownership, like you said. But once we hit a certain point, my whole I don't know, something changed, something clicked inside, and I was ready to go shout it on the mountaintop. And maybe it's just the confidence of knowing that we had done the work necessary to make it successful.
Yeah. Oh, big one.
And I don't know what that point is for different people, but we had to put in the work to get to that point where we felt comfortable to go out and you know, get the bus going, you know.
Yeah, and that brings up a good point. You're not going to get the right people on the bus. They're not going to jump on your bus with you if the bus is not moving.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's an important thing. The bus has to be moving, and those right people have to feel confident in where that bus is going, or else they're not going to jump on. So, you know, exactly what Scott and Kelly and we're all talking about is you've got to get that bus moving, and then the right people will show up, and then you've got to just pretty much snatch them and grab them onto the bus. But you've got, you know, successful people, they're always moving. Mm-hmm. And they're always moving, even if they're going in the wrong direction sometimes, they're still moving, and then they readjust the course that they're on. Mm-hmm. So as long as you're moving and going, and exactly what Scott said, we were moving, and we were just trying to get the bus in the right direction. And once we got it in the right direction, that's when all these opportunities and the right people started jumping on. So just keep moving.
Yeah, I don't think it's a dollar amount that gets you to that point. I think it's just like a feeling of where you know you're ready to go to the next level.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so there's been, Caroline said a couple of things. She says, you become like the people you hang out with. Okay. She also says, and she's going back to having the wrong clients or customers. She says, having the wrong client just because they are breathing and have $1 in their hand is a huge mistake. I've done it, regretted it, and let them go. It was scary, my biggest client to date, but the situation was dragging me down and causing multiple problems in my life and business. And that is so true. And that's the same with, you know, having the right partner, having the right employees, having the right customers and clients. If you don't have the right people, or if you don't get them off of the bus, then they're going to drag you down, and you won't get to where you want to go because they're slowing. You'll hit those bumps. So that's a good point, Caroline.
Yeah, along that line, when it comes to our customers, we have a term on our terms of service. We actually say the customers we don't want. And we even put it on our checkout page in red, in big red letters. Mm-hmm. So that kind of eliminates some of the bad customers and those issues right out of the gate. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do the same thing. And I think we've talked about this before briefly, you know, when we were talking about titles and having people kind of submit their titles to their websites. You can actually describe who it is that you're looking for, whether you're putting out a posting for a job description. You can put it right there in the title, and you can even say in that posting who you do not want to apply. So I think it's a very valuable concept to learn early on in your business, to be able to just say it, you know, just say it.
Yeah, Exactly. And we've mentioned this before for some of you wondering, so how do I get the right people on the bus? Well, as we said today, your bus needs to be moving and going in the right direction. And then another thing that we've shared with you guys is, for example, if you're going to outsource something or getting an employee, don't hire them right off the bat, or don't sign somebody up for a big, huge project worth a lot of money right off the bat. Give them small little tasks and see if they do it, and see how they do it, and then see if they'll work good with you. Just don't marry somebody right off the bat. Just date them for a little bit, if that makes sense. Caroline said, I learned an important lesson this week. To experience business growth, we must also grow on the inside right along with it. And that's so true. You've got to be growing yourself so that your business can grow. And we've given lots of examples of that over the last couple of weeks, of just growing yourself and setting goals and improving your own life so that your business improves as well, because your business is only going to grow as big as you are improving yourself. So that's so true. Anthony Canty says, placing yourself around people who have the same mindset and a good mentor who can walk you through what you want to do and give you a good direction. So true. And we've talked about that. Kelly talked about that 2 weeks ago, with choosing the right coach and the right mentor, and having the right people around you with the same mindset. Because if you don't, then it's going to be hard to move forward if they are bringing you down. So
yeah, if you have negative influences around you, it's hard to be outstanding, for one, and it's definitely hard to have a great company. If there's a lot of stuff, infighting and things going on, how do you grow your business? How do you take it to the next level when people are behind you, supporting you? It's just incredibly difficult.
Mm-hmm. I've got a fantastic example of how to hire the right people, but Scott, I don't know if you're finished on your webinar, and I don't want to talk about that until you are, because we could get into a totally different topic there.
Oh, go ahead. This is the last slide.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well, all right, so here is, to me, this was the most fabulous way that you could ever hire somebody, and I believe that for this individual, I mean, his company is making millions and millions of dollars, so I believe that this is probably the #1 way that the next time I actually hire an employee, this is how I will do it. He put out a job description, and oftentimes he puts it out on Craigslist, or there's some other, probably some other areas that he puts it in too, but primarily there. And he does it in a way that it describes his personality, it describes who he does not want to apply, and then who he wants to apply. And then what he does is he basically tells them, this is the position that I have open right now, and this is what I'm going to require of you. But keep in mind, I'm a sloppy mess, but I'm also driven to sloppy success. And he starts talking about how he actually goes into it, and what he says is, I'm going to have each of you who apply, I'm going to narrow it down. So, for example, if I get 500 applications, I'll narrow it down to 100. I'll spend another 4 days deciding out of those 100 who I want to pick, and I will pick 20 out of those. I will have each one of you come onto a teleseminar call, and while you're on that call, we'll have discussions about what this job entails and how my personality may not work for you, or how your personality may not work for me. But I'll talk to each one of you. So I got on this call. I had to see how this was working. So I got on the call. It was the most fascinating experience I think I have ever seen in hiring somebody. So what he does is, for the first probably 15 minutes, he was talking to these people in a way that, I mean, he was just being flat out honest, saying, this is how difficult your job could be. This is how empowering it could be, but this is how stressful it could be also. So in essence, he just lined it all out for them. Then he said, now, for the 20 of you that are on this call, if you choose to hang up right now, I respect you for that, because you are obviously clear about what you want or what you don't want. And so at that point, he waited just for a couple seconds, and 5 people dropped off the line. Now he's got 15 people on board. Then he says, okay, so for the 15 of you that are here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to narrow this down to 12 people. He says, so here's what I'm looking for, and he named the areas that he wanted these people to be from. For some reason, that was, it's a specific requirement that he had. And so that lost 3 more people. So now he's got a dozen people. So he said, now, this call could take a long time because I will not get off this call until I am 100% sure that I have at least 2 people to choose from. Literally, this phone call was like 2 hours long, and you would think that is just crazy. Why would anybody do that? But I'll tell you what, just like what Scott is teaching today, that will bring you the right people on that bus for you. And so eventually, at the end of that call, he really did narrow it down to just 2 women who were finally left on the call, and he had actually asked, I think it was 6 of the women, to introduce themselves, tell them about themselves. He would open up their line, each one at a time. And by the time he was done, I was in total awe over this entire process. Now, obviously, you may not want to do that for you. Maybe you don't even have a clue how to run a teleseminar call or anything like that. But see how something like that could actually work in your business and how it might just be the #1 thing that could propel you forward.
Awesome. That
was cool, Kelly.
Great example. Anthony's got a question, but before we go to the questions, we just want to remind you about the next BFF webinar 2 weeks from today. Remember, we're doing it every second and, well, I don't remember, but it's 2 weeks. I think second and fourth week, yeah. So Friday, October 26th at 1 p.m., mark it on your calendars. Kelly Frazier is going to be teaching money, money, money. How do I make it work for me? So I'm excited for that. I like that.
Exactly, Scott. Yeah, you know what, you guys, I want to tell you something about this. This is not about investing, okay? I mean, it kind of is. We talk a little bit about that, but not very much. This truly comes down to the way you run your personal finances is how you're going to run your business finances. And if your personal finances are not squared away, guess what? It could really cause some issues. So that's what this topic is about.
Cool. I'm excited for that. Okay, so now question and answers. How have you ever seen the bus analogy in your life or business? So, from today's discussion, what did you learn from it? What are some questions that you guys have for getting the right people on the bus? Do you have any good examples or stories of hiring the right person or the wrong person? What is an action item that you've been inspired to take today? So just start giving us some feedback. Do you have any questions about this specific topic? Do you have any questions about anything that you're struggling in with your business? Let us know, and we'll start getting to those. So Anthony asks, do you recommend people outside of this country for outsourcing? Sure. I don't know what country you're talking about. I'm assuming you mean out of North America. But really the bottom line is that person, whether they're in your country or outside of your country, is it the right person on the bus? So yes, I would recommend it. I don't know about Kelly or Scott. Yes, we recommend it, but it depends on if it's the right person for you. Does that person have the right characteristics, as we've been teaching today? Is that person going to help you steer the bus in the right direction? I don't think it really matters where they live necessarily. It might if you have a brick and mortar store. If you want them to come into the office, then it definitely matters. But otherwise, I don't think it does. Scott, Kelly?
I've had mixed experiences with overseas. I've had horrible experiences where I basically wasted a year of my life working with an overseas programmer from India. It was a horrible experience, but we've also had some good experiences with people overseas, graphic designers, and another programmer that's done a great job. So I think it just depends, like Garrett said, but you've got to make sure that they understand English very well. That's like the #1 criteria.
Or your language.
Yeah. And one of the best examples of overseas is Mike, Stu's programmer that we talked about earlier that we met in Kenya. He's from the Philippines, and he was an amazing person. And you could tell he was the right person on the bus. In fact, that's a really cool story is when Stu originally started his business, he actually hired Mike as a programmer. And Mike was such a good programmer that they ended up actually making him a partner in the business. And
Wow.
that's a huge thing for Mike because he's in the Philippines, right? And so it's completely changed his life because he makes a ton of money, and you know, money there is a lot more valuable